This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You always follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Pauly Howard. We're live in downtown Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is the spot. Busy, very busy Thursday show coming up. As usual, Paul Charchian, his weekly appearance coming up in 30 minutes. We'll talk about fantasy for this week, player props that he likes tonight and for Sunday as well. Professional better Frank B. The timing of him being in studio today could not have worked out better. He's in town for the annual Blackjack Ball. You'll learn more about that coming up in an hour, but also like the perfect guy to talk to about this Rozier and Billups story, which we're going to get into here in a minute. And we will get best bets in soccer from Steve Wiss. So that's coming up a little bit later on in the show. Pauly, this story that dropped much earlier in the morning, it feels like an earthquake that took place. And tremors are still being felt several hours later and from thousands of miles away, because the longer the day goes on, the more we're learning about what took place with both Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups. And as you tweeted much earlier today, this is right out of a movie. And how about the timing of this now? After the true opening night for the NBA, I think we, like most of us in the sports betting racket, like we've been waiting for the shoe to drop on Terry Rozier now for a while, right? For several months. But nobody saw this coming. The day after the real opening day, along with Chauncey Billups and then Damon Jones as well. And oh, by the way, it's like mafia involved as well. It crosses over 11 different states. Billups is a Hall of Famer. Rozier, Jones bringing up, LeBron's name, potentially Anthony Davis as well, and telling people, go get down on this big time so I can eat as well. Unbelievable day today. And it could not have gone worse for the NBA.
Stunned. Yep. Certainly they don't care about what goes on in a poker room in someone's basement, illegal card game. But when you have coaches and assistant coaches leaking information about Lillard and LeBron James, shenanigans allegedly with what Chauncey Billups is in the Hall of Fame. What's he doing talking to the Gambino and Bonanno crime family? How does this even happen where he is the, quote, face card and the big draw to get these guys into these underground poker games where it can give them credibility, and then these guys get money stolen from them because the game's not on the up and up, and then the mob comes in as enforcers and threatens to beat the hell out of them unless they pay and get their money, and one guy alone lost $1.8 million in these games. To your point about this is right out of a movie, X-ray machines built into tables to read face-down cards, contact lenses, glasses to read pre-marked cards, secret cameras in card trays, cameras in the chandeliers, Billups the draw, Jones the draw, and Rozier to get these guys in there. And everyone was in on it except the guys, the fish, but even the dealers and everyone knew this was a fixed poker game. This is bad day for the NBA. It's unbelievable that I can't believe a coach right now who was arrested at his home at 6 a.m. after a game is involved with the mafia, and then also calling his buddies, oh, by the way, Damian Lillard, who is probable right now, as I talked to you, will not play.
Yep. That, and also they blew a game last night in which they led the entire way. I know that this is probably just a coincidence, and somehow, some way, the Timberwolves covered like one of the numbers that was available for a lot of the day. Don't let that get lost. I don't think anything probably happened last night, but the Blazers were in control until the fourth quarter of that game last night, or led pretty much the entire time. And then this is how much the story has evolved, because people who I follow on X, and they cover this kind of stuff professionally for a living, 5 or 6 hours ago said, well, at least it looks like Billups was not involved in sports betting. Well, that turns out to be wildly incorrect, because in the indictment, when you go back to March 24th, 2023, Billups is actually not named, but he was co-conspirator number 8. At the time, they were 32 and 40. They were out of playoff contention. 10 games were remaining. So this co-conspirator told the defendant, Eric Ernest, that the Blazers were going to be tanking to increase their odds of getting a better draft pick in the upcoming draft.
This is when the tank started.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And then so, maybe again, Billups wasn't point shaving in that game, but he told people who could get down a lot of money under that scenario. And I'm also seeing like a tweet that came in from somebody who covers gambling professionally. This is Sam McQuillan. So when you look at that indictment on that date, $100,000 plus hit books before the line move and went from 2.5 to plus 7.5. And the Blazers lost the game 124-96. 6 players, including their top 4 scorers, sat out with kind of ridiculous injuries.
Yeah. That night, Lillard's probable. He doesn't play. He doesn't play the rest of the season. The Blazers go 2-15. That's the timeline.
There is also a game, and I'm almost positive that we talked about this in win-lose, and I'm quite sure I had a bet on Portland in this game.
Yeah, I think you had it. They were hot. Yes.
Portland was catching, this was last year.
March.
They were playing the Celtics, and Portland was catching 8.5, and the team fouled twice in the final 4 seconds. I remember I was hot about that. I talked to JVT as we were crossing over here as the show ended. He was pissed off too because he also was on the Blazers in that game. Funny business? I think yes.
Everything comes into question. Going back, minutes played. Why are you fouling down 8 with 5 seconds left twice?
I'll give you another one with Billups, by the way.
The other thing, it's like Dan Wetzel tweeted, though. Number 1, don't get involved in these underground poker games because they're not on the up and up. But number 2, if you owe the Mafia a favor and they call in that favor, or Jonte Porter, Rozier, Chauncey Billups, it's nuts here. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so there is somebody on X who has like 330 followers. And now this tweet from January 30th has taken off and has more than 3,000 retweets today. And he tweeted out, why is Deni Avdija playing 4 minutes in the first quarter with 4 laughing emojis? Avdija came on like gangbusters last year. He was absolutely fantastic. And then he quote tweeted it and said, if Terry Rozier is being investigated, Chauncey Billups needs to as well. Deni Avdija has played 35, 39, 34, 38, and 38 minutes in 5 of his last 6. And the other one he played 26, which was also conveniently against the Magic. Billups clearly deciding to bet under on him versus Orlando. Played that many minutes, and then all of a sudden, Avdija's going to sit and play not many minutes in this game tonight. It doesn't look good.
No, it's like what you said earlier. The thinking was, well, he's just involved in these underground poker games. No big deal, but it's getting worse for Billups. We knew about the Rozier stuff, as we talked about with David Purdom. How did the NBA clear him in their own investigation, by the way?
Yeah, right.
But more on that coming up. But the other thing is, why is Billups involved in these games? He was sent a wire of $50,000 after they had one winning session. Of course, you're going to win every session. The fact that he's involved with the Mafia and he's in these, the face card where these poker games were in the Hamptons, Manhattan, Las Vegas, and Miami. Once the Fish lost, the Mafia used extortion and violence to make sure they paid their debts. Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese crime families. One victim alone lost $1.8 million. Victims believed they were sitting at a fair table. Instead, they were cheated out of millions. Text messages between the defendants carried out the scheme, showing that one game here in Vegas in April of 2019, Billups was winning so many improbable hands with the help of a rigged shuffling machine that his people organizing this told them, you have to lose at least to make this look good because you're winning every single hand and it looks absolutely ridiculous, which they wouldn't even, at that point, it's like, well, a guy has to know. Every bluff he catches me, every hand is... And it's, sure. I just can't believe that this guy... So
he wasn't just the face card then. He wasn't just a magnet to get other people to play.
Yeah.
He was sitting down himself.
And then you have Damon Jones.
Pauly, one second here. Yeah. That's right out of Rounders.
That's right.
That's at the very end where they're playing the cops. And Worm
that's right.
is caught, right? Hey, Sarge, I caught a hanger here. And he's,
Let's see if it helps him out.
He's got Mike and D face cards. And Mike and D's like, Jesus Christ, man, what are you doing? I got to fold another hand.
Uh-huh.
You got to stop doing that. You can't make it look so obvious.
That's exactly right. And that's obviously you're thinking, well, I'm playing in a fixed game here. How can this guy have it every single time and win? Oh, it's like in Casino with Pesci's character. But the X-rays see the cards, the cameras and the chandeliers, unbelievable. And then you also had Damon Jones, who was passing along info when he was working with the Lakers about the LeBron James thing where they were playing Milwaukee and the info wasn't out there. And he told his people, hey, LeBron's not going to play. He didn't. And Milwaukee won and covered. So Billups doing with the Lillard stuff, LeBron involved, at least with passing information on him as well. And this is now what happens to the Blazers. Their head coach he's going to appear in court today.
Well, he's done.
Guy just got arrested. Now you got the Splitter as the assistant coach taking over now. They just had their first game.
A Hall of Famer.
I know.
Played on that unbelievable team
Mr.
with
Big
the Pistons.
Shot.
Absolutely, right? That kind of a career, and then it's over with. Done. And their season just started with one game in the books after last night. You got to be kidding me with that. By the way, think about how extravagant the Mafia was to have everything like that. They went that far. They thought of just, you think of something, I can match that and come up with another idea that we have to do. In the chandeliers, underneath.
I know, right?
I mean, the cell phones, the quarterbacks at the table, and they're signaling in another way.
Yep. That is excellent about how it would be carried out. Where you got one guy, the quarterback, then would see the cards. He texts the guy at the table, and then they tell him what to do there, or what the cards are, and then you're just going to win every hand, essentially, at that point.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I loved Doug Kazarian's tweet earlier today. Too bad David Stern's not still alive, so he could blame it on one rogue person.
Yes, that was Donaghy. Rest assured, it was only one guy. Yes.
Much more in this coming up, including some of the damning audio that the New York City Police Commissioner was saying today. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It's good to have you on board. Thanks for watching today on YouTube TV, listening Sirius XM channel 158, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio as well. We will talk to Paul Charchian coming up in 15 minutes. He has given out 3 consecutive anytime touchdown scores that have cashed on Thursday Night Football. We'll find out who he likes in this game coming up tonight. A lot on this big story today involving Terry Rozier. Chauncey Billups was the one that blindsided a lot of people. And as we're getting tweets right now, at VSiN Live, at Mitch Moss Radio, at Pauly Howard, what about Gilbert Arenas? That had been like a month ago. Nothing to see here? He's going to skate free? Was this not the same thing? Remember, that was Arenas and the Mafia as well, with poker games.
Well, A-Rod was involved in those too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of big-time players. So the Molly's Game movie, and there was a lot of big players in New York City who were involved in these games. And this one, the poker game was Operation Royal Flush. The Rozier stuff with the prop betting is Operation Nothing But Bet with the names. But it goes back to, clever, huh? It goes back to right out of the Sopranos episode where you got, Tony running it and Chrissy is there, and you got the food there, and if you want the girls, they're over in that side room. Why a Hall of Famer and current NBA head coach, Mr. Big Shot, is the face card in trying to draw in big-time players to play a poker game where it's rigged. I don't understand why. Chauncey, can you imagine? Hey, Mitch, it's the Genovese crime family, line 1. Oh, I got to take it. I'm dying to hear what they have to say. And you get caught up in this scam.
Sure. Well, stuck big time, yeah.
The other thing is, the Porter thing I understand. He made $400,000. He was stuck. This is his way of trying to get out of it, whatever he was doing. I also blame sports books. Why were there props offered on Porter, and why are you letting people get down big money for that? It goes back to Clase and Ortiz. Why is first pitch of an inning ball strike and you're taking big limits? That's ridiculous. But why is Chauncey Billups, who's made a ton of money in this situation, Rozier is making $26 million a year.
Yeah.
He's made over $100 million in his career. And he's telling his buddies, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to go out early with an injury in this game. And they get down $200,000.
He signed a 4-year, $100 million deal. And you have to go back and check out the tweet that I retweeted from.
Oh, it's bad.
I mean, he deleted his Instagram, and somebody, I think it's the Hater Report on X, good name, they put together a spliced video of one game from Rozier.
Yeah, the Cavs game.
it's honestly, if you're watching the game live and you don't know any better, you're thinking to myself, I think this guy's up to kind of no good, right? So
air balls, ridiculous turnovers. It looked like me out there if I put the shoes on and went out.
Right. So this is earlier today, New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch on the Rozier incident, and listen to how much money was involved here.
One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash.
Are we serious? They went back to his home and they were counting the cash? They have that? They know that for sure? And that's after, again, so the first report came out that 6 people basically were betting, making these big bets combined for like $200,000. There had to be more people. Or, like you were saying, because we did hear that sports books are, quote, the victim here. Are they?
Yes, that's what they said today.
Are they? And by the way, was it like legal sports books? How much of this was offshore? Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't stand it when I spin and spin and spin when I try to get a couple $100 on a player prop. And then it's rejected and I'm offered $4.17. So that happens to everybody. They were able to get down $200,000 in all unders, and the books are like, no problem here because of what VIP players that they have, because they've lost a lot of money, and they're like, okay, we'll give you whatever you want.
I wouldn't say, I would say it's the poor people who thought they were going into a poker game that was legitimate. They're the victims. Everyone knows the fish thought it was on the up and up, and everyone in that room knew it was dirty and what was going on. You're right about how sophisticated it was, too. About they thought of everything. And then you had an off-site operator sent the info back to the person on a cell phone at the table who was the quarterback and would signal the info they received to others at the table. And with the poker chip tray analyzers, this is right out of a James Bond movie. The special contact lenses, glasses to read the cards, X-ray tables that could read the cards face down. I mean, this is so elaborate, and it's just, I can't believe Chauncey Billups is in that room in the face guard. I can't believe it. What are you doing? You're in a Hall of Fame. You're coaching the Portland Trail Blazers. How did it get to this point?
How many times did you have to read it today before you're like, wait, what, Chauncey Billups?
Yeah, and it's just getting worse. You're right.
I can't understand. What, him? Really?
Yes. And then to think you're picking up the phone to all these people, and Lillard's out tonight. Lillard's not playing, and it got to that point.
Sure. Guys, can we fire up that audio on the U.S. Attorney talking about Billups and Jones in the poker scheme? To give here you go. This is Joseph Nocella talking about that exact thing earlier today.
Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant, Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach.
Can you imagine getting that validation today if you were in that room and you lost all that money?
Yeah. It happened to Mike Matusow. He'd be great on this. And also Helmuth. It was that, what's the guy's name? Rex, whatever. I forgot his name. Ultimate Bet, whatever the scandal was on poker, that they could see the whole cards. And it ruined Matusow. It killed his confidence. But the guy knew what he had every single hand, and he took him for a ton of money.
Right.
And the damage that it did to Matusow.
Mentally, yeah.
About it.
To try to get over that.
Yeah. He's like, I thought now I'm a bad player all of a sudden. I lose every single hand. Something's not right. And what it did to his confidence and his game and his mental, everything upstairs. And it's like, yeah, he was, the guy was cheating, and Mattisau didn't know it.
Let's hear one more time from the U.S. Attorney earlier today as he rattled off some of the teams in the NBA. I think we have this one where he gets the name wrong of a team. Oh, anyway, so I'll just tell you, he was rattling off like 4 or 5 different NBA teams, and he called them the Toronto Rangers.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I've lost. Yeah, I've lost a lot of money. I think they maybe misspelled the name. Can I get my money back on that? I thought I was betting the Toronto Raptors. No, it's the Rangers. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah. Well, the Rozier's no surprise. Again, I don't understand how the NBA did their own investigation and cleared the guy.
How is that possible?
They also had his cell phone. Yeah, I know. But then all the digging here and what Rozier has done, and just you knew it was fishy what he did. And it came out that it was true that he was tipping off his buddies. I'm going to leave this game with an injury, bet the under. And that's exactly what happened. And how many times did it happen? I don't know.
I'd like to get some details on the investigation there by the NBA.
Yeah. That reeks of Stern after Donaghy.
Absolutely.
It's just one guy went rogue.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. No, nothing to see here. I promise you, we have our best people on the case. And we did, countless hours of digging. We talked to everybody. Nope. Couldn't find anything. The guy's good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Good job, guys, because you missed everything on this. And we're also getting, feedback from people saying, like, this is why you can't really blame people when they watch professional outfits and they think something funny's going on and they always cry like it looks like it's rigged. Now, I don't want to go down that path because
we got 3 examples over 50 years. College, yes, I expect that to happen.
Right.
But pro, I just think it's the Porter thing, Rozier, and this, and I will say it's interesting to see what happens from here now. Do they just eliminate unders on props? Well,
sure.
Some states do that.
Right.
But it comes back to limits too, I think, and what you hit on it earlier.
That's outrageous.
Why could these guys win millions, $1 million or 6 figures on Jonte Porter, a guy never heard of until the incident?
Exactly right. I know this
right?
one here, $200,000 plus on, again, how many people? If it's only 6, I doubt that number's accurate. Come on. You can't allow that to happen.
Yeah. And this stuff is too easy to manipulate, too.
It also reminds me of the guy last week. Sorry to cut you off. Jared Goff, 5,000 anytime, first touchdown scorer of the game. Clearly, the guy had some information, but how is he allowed to get 5,000 on a first touchdown score, especially at 90-1? Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian on the program coming up next. 6 teams featuring a lot of important players on bye this week. Who can we still find on the waiver wire to fill the void?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
VSiN Pro subscribers have exclusive access to our new AI player prop projections powered by OptAI, the same trusted brand behind elite soccer analytics in the UK, data-driven projections for quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. And with the NBA season underway, VSiN offering a limited-time free preview of our new NBA player prop projections. It's awesome, phenomenal. Check them out, VSiN.com/NFL props. Big Thursday night game coming up, VSiN.com/NFL props. And thanks to Tom Collins, Russ Hamilton was the poker guy who got Mattisau good and was
very good.
Could see hole cards, cheated him.
Yeah, I promise we're going to get back to that story, the Rozier, Billups, Damon Jones story, several times over the next 2.5 hours on this program. But there is a Thursday night football game to get to, and also a huge week in fantasy as Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian makes his weekly appearance now on the Progressive Guest Line. Charch, good afternoon. Pleasure to talk to you as always. I remember in a couple of drafts that I had this year, I kept drafting, which at the time I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a great team. And then I kept looking, I'm like, wait, that's another player on a week 8 bye. And that's another player on a week 8 bye. I'm like, well, I'm just going to suck it up. Yes. I'll have a bad week 8. Here we are. It's week 8. I don't want to face the consequences of my draft. So I'm a little bit stuck, as are a lot of people, right? But so with so many teams being on a bye featuring a ton of important fantasy players, like, is there anybody out there right now that we should be streaming this week?
Well, it's hard. You got all the injuries, you got all the bye weeks, so there's not a ton of options. But I'll give you a player at each position that I think you could use. You're really in a pinch, a quarterback, really in a pinch. Justin Fields has been a top 7 quarterback in all but one of his full games. If he is the starter for the Jets against the Bengals, he just runs you to fantasy victory, even though he's not good. And especially if Tyrod Taylor can't play, so they can't bench Fields at some point during the game, you could go there against the Bengals. That's an option. The Bears, Kyle Monangai, coming off a breakout game last week in which he had 15 touches, and they're starting to use him in a way that reminds me of David Montgomery. For Ben Johnson, starting to get to a stage where he's putting together his 1-2 punch guys. He had a 39% touch rate, which is the highest for Kyle Monangai's, by a mile for his career. And DeAndre Swift has got a groin injury at the moment, and it looks like he's going to go, but they're building this 1-2 punch here, and this could be an opportunity. Baltimore Ravens run defense have been terrible all season long, so Kyle Monangai might be a guy you could pick up. And the last two guys I'm going to mention, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, available in roughly 50 and 70% of leagues, respectively, going up against the Dallas secondary. They've allowed the most fantasy points to wide receivers. So those are some deep dive guys that you could try to pick up off the waiver wire.
Okay. Is this real with Bo Nix from a fantasy standpoint?
He just posted the highest scoring fantasy game of any quarterback this year, almost all in the fourth quarter, as you guys know. And by the way, about that game, the part of the game, and it's been analyzed a lot, people breaking it down lots of different ways. How could the Giants possibly do this? How did the Broncos come back? Nobody talking enough about what a terrible decision by Brian Daboll when he was up 19-0 to go for 2. Why? Just take the extra point. Now, granted, his kicker, he's got a replacement kicker, but still, I didn't understand it at the time, and I still don't understand it now.
Well, he missed 2.
I can understand if you're. He missed. Now at that point, he hadn't missed 2. He'd only missed 1 at that point, and maybe he just knew that his kicker was that bad. But still, I just think that was an inexplicable decision. If you're down by 19, I could see it more easily. But if you're up by 19, I don't see how you take points off the board. But this week, Bo Nix is not going to have a regression against Dallas. Think about this. Against opposing quarterbacks, one defense has done this: most passing yards allowed, most passing touchdowns allowed, most quarterback rushes allowed, most quarterback rushing yards allowed, and most quarterback rushing touchdowns allowed, all against the same defense. Bo Nix could potentially be sitting on a great game. Did you guys hear this stat? Highest scoring, the best producing offense by yards is Dallas, and the second best producing offense is whoever's playing Dallas.
Oh, that's so good. Wow. Oh,
so good.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Average 30, give up 30.
Yeah. I bet under 41.5 Niners and Houston. It's not looking good here for this entire Texans offense, especially maybe this week, right? Because we got news yesterday of the Christian Kirk hammy and Nico Collins concussion now.
Right. So he had the concussion Monday night. So short week. I don't think he's going to clear the protocol. That means there's really basically nobody left to play in this Houston offense, at least from a fantasy standpoint. Most of the problem with Houston falls on this awful offensive line that ranks 29th in pass block win rate, 28th in run block win rate. And there's one guy who's just not getting enough heat in my mind, Houston GM Nick Caserio, who 3 years ago, he gets a historic rookie season from CJ Stroud. Right? You finally get what every general manager is trying to do. Get your young franchise quarterback on his rookie deal and be able to just sit back for 10 years and enjoy the fruits of your great rookie quarterback. Never bothered to protect him. Gave him terrible production. He traded away Laramie Tunsil, who granted was overpaid and didn't produce that well, but he's better than anybody on the line right now. It's terrible. The runners, Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, have nowhere to go with the ball. Christian Kirk, you mentioned, not playing. And if Nico Collins is out, it's all over for them. I can't start any Houston Texans given how things are shaping up there. And guys, for all the talking we've done about this strata of bad teams in the NFL, right? Like the Jets and Houston, like Tennessee, Las Vegas, Cleveland. Houston's right here in this mix. Their defense is good, but this offense is so bad they are candidates to lose every week.
Okay. How about what's going on in Chicago? Is this running game real with Swift and what they've done the last couple of weeks?
I think it is. I love what Ben Johnson's building. Easy to say, they won 4 in a row, right? So, it looks like it's all offense and defense, by the way. And they're going to get Jalen Johnson back. I mean, he's defense's best player is going to be coming back for the first time this year within a week or two. So things are starting to come together there. What I really like, I already mentioned earlier, love that he's putting together Monangai, Swift. That's starting to work. The offensive line's blocking has been fantastic. Remember, they had the most improved offensive line, or it looked like it would be coming in to the into the season from last year. And the offensive line for the Bears has just been fantastic. And it's all starting to come together for the Bears right now in a way that is going to make them, honestly, over the past month, they've looked as good as any team in NFC North, and I include the Lions with that.
Wow,
and better than the Packers and Vikings.
Yep. Paul Charchian, our guest, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer. Website is guillotineleagues.com. What are your thoughts on Alvin Kamara at this point? And Kendre Miller is now out for the year. Devin Neal is the guy that I have circled as someone maybe I should be picking up this week.
Correct. Yep, he is a pickup this week for sure. Devin Neal's a really fun stash because I think he's going to get his time. Okay, and first of all, I'm not shoveling dirt on Kamara's grave, right? But eye test says he doesn't look like the same guy. I'm watching this last month of games, like, this is not the Alvin Kamara I know. But now let's put some metrics against it. Hasn't topped 70 rushing yards all year. Hasn't scored since week 1. Kamara, over the past 5 weeks, averaging barely 3 yards per carry and 29th in yards after contact. I mean, we can all remember highlight plays with Alvin Kamara shredding dudes. And also disappointing, is one of the league's best dual threat runners. He's getting just 18 receiving yards per game. That's not the Alvin Kamara that we know. And I'm not saying Kamara's never going to have another good game, but the schedule's tough. He doesn't look like the same guy. Alvin Kamara, from a fantasy standpoint, is not an automatic start anymore. Devin Neal may find himself in a position, and this is the rookie from Kansas, who's basically their whole offense. Amazing footwork, can make guys miss, doesn't have the straight line speed that Kamara's got, but he's got the receiving chops, so he can walk into a lot of those third down opportunities. We saw Kamara yielding time to Kendre Miller. Now I think he's going to start yielding time to Devin Neal. And there's a scenario here where just time is caught up to Kamara. I don't think he's going to get traded, but maybe does. Just go get Devin Neal and let's play this thing out for a few weeks and see if Devin Neal doesn't end up making an impact here.
Love it. You're going to hang around for one more segment, but we can sneak this in, I think. Should we all be high, either picking him up if he's available, playing him this week, and looking to bet Mason Taylor props rookie tight end for the Jets?
Yes, this is an amazing opportunity. The Bengals have allowed, get this, the most receiving yards to tight ends and 9 touchdowns to the position already. Most teams don't give up 9 touchdowns to tight ends all year long. The fact the Bengals have done this already is staggering ineptitude. And what we've seen over the years is this is a defensive scheme that's hard to course correct in season. Teams that are bad, really bad against tight ends usually stay that way. It's a fantastic opportunity for Mason Taylor, who, keep in mind, especially if Garrett Wilson doesn't play, he may not play. This passing offense might go through the rookie for the Jets.
Great point. Yeah, those 9 touchdowns, 3 more than the next team in the league. That's incredible. And we have more with Paul Charchian coming up next. He's given out 3 straight anytime touchdown scores for Thursday Night Football. Find out which player he likes tonight. Chargers hosting the Vikings next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We continue talking National Football League. Did player props, did fantasy actually in the first segment with Paul Charchian, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer, guillotineleagues.com. Now we'll turn our attention to player props for this week and tonight's game. First of all, let's not bury the lead here. You've given out 3 consecutive anytime touchdown scores at awesome prices, by the way, for the Thursday night game. We got Vikes Chargers tonight. Who are you targeting?
Well, we're going to stick with the anytime touchdown. This is my official pick, and at about half of the price of what we had been getting. But I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston, both over 41.5 yards, and the anytime touchdown is plus 170. Now, this is a high-risk play because the Chargers have so many receiving weapons. But when I explain why, I think you're going to understand why he fits the mold here. Quentin Johnston is a physically imposing receiver. 6'3", 215 pounds. He wins contested catches. He boxes out smaller defenders. The Vikings have faced two similarly built receivers to Quentin Johnston. One was last week, A.J. Brown, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. The other one was DK Metcalf, 126 yards and a touchdown. And the problem for the Vikings in these matchups with these big physical receivers, their cornerbacks are tiny. They've got Byron Murphy at 5'11", 190 pounds, and Isaiah Rodgers at 5'10", 170 pounds. Johnson can win those one-on-one battles just with his size. The Vikings do have one other bigger cornerback, but the problem is it's Jeff Okudah, and he's awful. He's allowed a 100% completion rate in his coverage, so he's not really an option either. They don't have a way to go big against Quentin Johnston. And so he can win on any part of the coverage. He's the 9th most used wide receiver in the NFL in end zone targets. So roll that together. I like Johnson over the 41.5 yards, and I like the anytime touchdown. With the caveat, they've got a lot of receiving options. Sometimes the ball doesn't come his way, and he had more drops last week too. I counted him with 2 drops, but they credited him only officially with 1. So he is a perennial ball dropper. But nevertheless, I think there's enough positivity here for Quentin Johnston to be to hit both of those numbers.
Good job. Make it 4 in a row. I'm a little disappointed in you, though. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Because he's not giving out somebody at 4 or 5 to 1?
No.
That's right.
But you like Herbert over as well. With National Tight End Week here and Tight End Day Sunday, you think Gadsden's going to go under? How can this be?
Yeah, you want to do the Herbert over or the Gadsden under?
I got to hear the Gadsden under for sure.
Gadsden's got to go under here.
I know. Everybody's on over, right? You just put up a 164-yard game. Mm-hmm. To tell you how big a 164-yard tight end game is that he did last week, last year, one tight end all year put up 164 yards. Oh. I mean, so this is a huge contrarian play. When we say under 45.5 yards for Gadsden, here's why. Vikings defense does some things really well. Tight end, covering the tight end is one of them. Only one tight end is topped this line, 45.5 yards all season long. And the Vikings are getting back a key player for tight end coverage assignments, Blake Cashman. Cashman missed weeks 2 through 6 with injury. Now he's healthy. What happened in week 1 and week 7? Tight ends did nothing. Cole Kmet was the leading receiver in week 1 with 31 yards. Last week, Dallas Goedert had 18 yards. That's it. Cashman's really good against tight ends. There are just better, easier matchups that are going to be on the field for Justin Herbert, including all 3 of his wideouts who have better matchups. So I'm fading Gadsden. And this classic had the blow-up game. Everybody's on him now. So I'm going the other direction in a contrarian play.
Damn you.
Okay, but it makes sense.
Nobody wants to hear that.
There's definitely logic behind that. Okay, you like that under, though, but because of what you just said, you think Justin Herbert's still going to have a great game.
I do. Over 250 passing yards. I think it's 250.5 and over 22.5 completions, by the way. Both of those are in play here. There's a chance the Vikings pass defense, which is highly ranked on paper, is just a paper tiger. Until last week, the Vikings had faced these quarterbacks: Caleb Williams, Michael Penix in his 5th ever start, Jake Browning, Aaron Rodgers, Dylan Gabriel. The last week, they play one of only 2 proven passers, Jalen Hurts, and he toys with the Vikings and throws 4 incompletions in the entire game. Aaron Rodgers, the only other proven quarterback to face the Vikings, had just 4 incompletions in his game either. It's one thing for Brian Flores, defensive coordinator for the Vikings, to scramble the brains of Dylan Gabriel in his 1st ever start, or Jake Browning with exotic pre-snap looks. But trying to do that to established veteran quarterbacks who've seen it a lot of times, like Justin Herbert's a very different story. There's nothing he's He's nothing he hasn't seen before. And really important to this, Joe Alt likely comes back at tackle. That's a huge, huge upgrade for the passing game and the totality of this Chargers offense. Herbert has topped 38 pass attempts in 4 of the last 5 games. And if Herbert's going to throw 38 plus times tonight, that puts the 250 yards and the 22 completions very much in play against the Vikings. I'm not sure. Now, I am a jaded Vikings fan, lifelong. And maybe I'm just feeling a little extra bitter coming off a bad game last week. But I can't tell you where this defense really lies when you see what they've done against good passers this year, because it hasn't been good.
When's McCarthy going to play?
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe next week. There's, the Vikings have brought this on themselves. The kid obviously had a setback on the ankle. Just say he had a setback. Why, instead of giving us the shifting timelines, and they originally told us it was going to be after the bye, that didn't happen last week. They could have avoided all of this soft benching talk with JJ McCarthy, and they're putting that on that kid needlessly. I think this has been a mistake. He is still limping on the ankle. The ankle's not right. They should have just told us he had a setback, and we all would have understood. You want to bring that kid back when he's fully healthy if he's going to make his 3rd ever NFL start. But I don't love how the Vikings have handled this one. I think they could have just been open about it.
All right. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Paul Charchian, GNTLeagues.com. He's on the progressive guest line. Okay, so props for this Sunday. Is Travion Henderson either in Mike Vrabel's doghouse to the extreme, or are they admitting that they basically made a whiff here on picking him in the 2nd round? Because this is Ramondre Stevenson's backfield, which I can't believe I'm saying after all the fumbles. And what do you want to do with Stevenson this week?
All right. Now, this is my favorite play of the whole segment. So if you're going to take one of my advice on any one of these things, I think this is the one. Okay. Ramondre Stevenson under 17.5 rushes because he's up against Cleveland. Stevenson falls into one of 2 categories. He either has a great game or he has a terrible game. It's Cleveland's awesome run defense. This is all set up for a flop game from him. The Patriots offensive line is not very good, and Ramondre tends to get exactly how much that offensive line can give him. And against the Browns can be very little. 3 good games for Stevenson, 4 bad ones this year. In those 4 games, he's averaged 7 carries, 22 rushing yards. That's it. Stevenson is 1 game removed from an 18-yard game. That's it. I mean, the flop is in play. Here's Cleveland's run defense. They're excellent. You probably already know that, but here I'm going to put some numbers against it. Cleveland, number 1 in ESPN's run stuff win rate, number 1 in Pro Football Focus's run defense rankings, number 1 in rush defense success rate, number 2 in rush defense EPA, number 1 in yards before contact. When Ramondre flops, he flops hard, and this is exactly the kind of situation where he tends to flop. We're going to take the under 17.5 rushes because I think they're just going to have to get away from the running game here. Not that they're, Cleveland is going to run away with the game. They're going to have to pass a lot to keep up with Cleveland. I just don't think they're going to be very successful with Stevenson. And even though Travion Henderson's turned out to be a total non-factor, they've proven they'll still go away from Ramondre if they need to. And I think that happens here on Sunday.
All right. And then Junkins had a great game last week, but stayed under the closing rushing yards total against the Dolphins, scored 3 times. What do you want to do with him?
And this time last week, we told you to take the over on Judkins, and we hit that. Now we're going to go under on Judkins because this same game against the Patriots, New England sneaky good. For all the talk in New England, and as great a story as New England, and everybody hyper-focused on Drake May, who's been terrific. He's in the MVP race. But the other thing the Patriots have totally reversed, their run defense. They're seeing the 4th fewest rushing plays. They're allowing the 5th fewest run defense EPA. They've got the 3rd best yards before contact. No runners top 49 yards against the Patriots. This line is at 71.5. Patriots are 7-point favorites. If you think this is going to be a one-sided game, the game script turns against Judkins fast. I don't like the 71.5 rushing yards here. I would go against it, even though Judkins is running well.
All right, buddy. You're the best. Dynamite analysis as always. Thanks so much for popping on. We appreciate it.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
There you go. And go Quinshon Johnson tonight.
4 in a row. That'd be great.
Yep. All right. Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. What a day to have professional gambler Frank B in studio. So we will get his thoughts on the the Billups and Rozier situation and all this talk about sportsbooks are the victim.